Citizens for Coalition Change leader Nelson Chamisa has left the opposition party with immediate effect. He says Zimbabwe is facing a hostile political environment and majority of people are leaving the country. The former CCC leader says his focus will remain in Zimbabwe and honouring its citizens. Chamisa took part in last year's elections where incumbent President Emmerson Mnangagwa won the controversial polls. In a farewell letter, Chamisa lamented the current state of affairs in Zimbabwe. He also accused the ZANU-PF of infiltrating the opposition party with a clear aim to destabilise it. For more on this, we're now joined by Nqobizitha Mlambo, media strategist for the Progressive Zimbabwean Foundation, and he joins us via our video link. Nqobizitha, thank you so much for joining us this evening here in SABC News. Perhaps to start off here, did this come as a surprise to you that Nelson Chamisa has decided to vacate the party?
First of all, thank you for having me. It didn't come as a surprise at all. We were anticipating it because of a lot of developments that were happening in Zimbabwe. I'm sure you've had news about what was what has been happening in Zimbabwe. Prior to 23 August elections, there were so many discrepancies that have been took place in our country. And so we've been going through a lot of challenges, politically, economically, socially, like you said earlier on, that Zimbabweans have been leaving, their country for greener pastures, so yeah, a catalog of challenging issues. The latest one was, a recall of MPs and by this so-called guy called Chabangu. He is an imposter, and we truly believe that it's a ZANU-PF project because this has happened before. It happened even in 2018. They used Douglas Monzora, so it wasn't a surprise. We're just waiting for that to happen. Thank you.
And Nqobizitha, I mean, in that statement, he says that Zimbabwe is facing a hostile political environment. What is your view on that sentiment coming out there from Nelson Chamisa?
Yeah, I concur. It's true. I mean, the things that happened in Zimbabwe, a lot of things, we can, list the millions and millions of things, but we do not have a lot of time. But we are aware of the election problems as well, characterized by ZANU-PF and ZAC. ZAC is an institution that is supposed to monitor and lead, on the day of election, but politically and constitutionally and in terms of electoral reforms, we didn't see any of that. And then you look at the delimitation report as well. It was chaos. It was mayhem. There were so many errors. There were a lot of manipulation in that delimitation report. So we sensed that something was not okay. And when it comes to elections, it was daylight robbery of rigging elections. Even the bodies that were monitoring the elections, or reporters like the SADC, their report, AU, even the EU report, it condemned these elections. So yes, there is a lot of chaos at the moment in terms of politics in Zimbabwe.
And Nqobizitha, staying with that sentiment there, looking at the elections in which took place last year, of course, I remember quite vividly, when it comes to opposition parties and how they were not given really the freedom and the space to actually campaign for their political parties and to campaign for those elections. Can opposition parties survive? Is it a healthy environment for opposition parties to survive in Zimbabwe?
Sadly, at the moment, it's not a conducive environment for opposition parties. The ground is not equal. Like you said, they're not, given the opportunity to even, campaign. So there was violence, there was intimidations, and all the rallies that they organized, they were stopped, by the system. So at the moment, we may kiss, democracy goodbye, but I believe that as we come together as Zimbabweans, we'll foster a positive change. So change will come after we've dealt comprehensively with the system that is operating at the moment, which is led by the ZANU-PF, the so-called Revolutionary Party. So yeah, at the moment, there's no equal ground.
And you paint a really bleak picture there when it comes, to healthy democratic practices in Zimbabwe, especially looking at what you as a country went through last year, pointing to that SADC report as well as the UN report. But at the same time, when it comes to the ruling ZANU-PF party, when we see leaders of this magnitude deciding to vacate their positions and to leave their parties. I mean, these are also some of the people who have been saying that, the country, some of the political parties were robbed from these elections. So what does it say about the ruling party, ZANU-PF?
What does it say about, you're speaking about the ruling ZANU-PF party. Well, the truth is out there. It's in the open. The whole world knows. They don't practice, democratic principles that they speak about. They've been butchering our constitution left, right, and center. They don't follow the constitution. They, don't give the opposition parties a breathing space. And this has been happening, for the past 43 years. From day one, we can go back to the times of Joshua Mnangagwa. They oppressed him and they formed one political party, like a one-party state, come MDC. They did the same thing to MDC. In 2018, that's where we saw the formation of MDC Alliance. Here we are today. They've also, made every effort to destroy the credible, opposition, a political party by the name of CCC. So they've always been doing that. So ZANU-PF, they don't subscribe to, democratic principles, and something has to change. And I believe that by Zimbabweans coming together, also, connecting with credible, leaders that are authentic, that are wanting the best for Zimbabwe, that's when we will see a change. Because as progressives, we believe in the mobilization of, grassroots mobilization and civic engagement. So Zimbabweans have to also take part, or, the citizens have to take part to see a meaningful change. Because what we see here, this war is very complex. It is above politics, and it requires every Zimbabwean, or it requires even people from the SADC region, because what is happening there, it's spilling over to the other countries. There's millions and millions of Zimbabweans in South Africa and across the globe, and there's 95% unemployment in Zimbabwe. So we gotta do something, because ZANU-PF does not subscribe to that.
All right then, Nqobizitha, thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Nqobizitha Mlambo, media strategist, Progressive Zimbabwean Foundation. Of course, they are giving us an insight in terms of that resignation coming out from Nelson Chamisa, quitting that party, Citizens for Coalition Change in Zimbabwe.